You're listening to the Money Dad Podcast, practical financial and business conversation from a dad who knows money. I'm April Adams, and please welcome my dad, the Money Dad, Robert Adams. I want to talk to you about one of my greatest fears.
And what is that, April?
All right, well, you know how I'm not married, and who knows if that'll ever happen.
Is that a fear?
No, that's not really that much of a fear. The fear is if I were to get married.
Oh, okay.
The biggest thing that I fear is having to merge finances.
Well, you just put them together.
Yeah, but I have my finances. And so
I know, I messed you up. I know you want to talk about merging finances and how to do it and how to make everybody happy so they don't get a divorce.
Well, also, how do you make sure? Because, we can only know another person so much. What if that person decides to try to take our money?
That's not too good. You need to put things in place that they can't take your money.
So let's talk about what we can put in place to protect ourselves from marriage.
Well, there's no protection from that, April. Once you're in it, I was always told that it would cost a whole lot more to get out. So, and you learn to grow together. Isn't that the right term? You grow together.
Yeah, if the other person is willing.
Yeah. So let's talk about some willingness on merging your bank accounts.
Okay, let's talk about it.
All right. You want to talk about why it's good, why it's bad?
Let's do the good news first. What are the positives besides tax breaks?
Okay. In all seriousness, when you are married, you should be wanting to work together to have common goals that you can try to achieve. And a lot of times people will go into a marriage and say, now, I'm going to pay the house payment and the electric bill, and I want you to pay the car payment and taxes and insurance and buy the groceries. And some people might say, well, that's a pretty good idea. But to me, it's not a good idea. You should try to merge. So if you do your budget, and remember, your budget is not something to control you. It is something that you use as a guide to really give you freedom. Freedom from being in debt and freedom from overspending. So some people say, well, I'm not putting my money in the same account as her money. Or she might say, I'm not putting my money in the same account as his money. So I can tell you after about 4 or 5 years, that's going to be a grind. Mm-hmm. And people are going to start being angry at each other because they ain't even focused on the budget. They're just focused on how mad they are at each other because one person's paying more things than the other's paying for.
It's true, and prices change, and so
yeah,
all of that, you might find you're getting the short end of the stick.
Right. So let's do scenario one, and I'll talk about a personal situation. Your mother decided that if we wanted to have kids, that she was going to stay home. And she made it very clear that she would stay home and that I would need to have to provide for everybody so she could stay home. Mm-hmm. So under that situation, there was only one bank account. Everything went into and I'm saying that sarcastically, my bank account. Well, when she wanted something, if she wanted to go buy a pair of shoes, she'd say, I need to get some money out of the bank account to go buy some shoes. And in the early days, I didn't know that questioning her was going to be a bad thing.
It was.
Not too good. But she continued on, and finally it got to a point that we were always arguing about that, and she felt like she had to come to me and ask for permission. So when she put it that way, I said something has to change. So if you've practiced everything that we've done in the previous podcast, and you got some things together, and you got some money saved up, and you're on your way to accomplishing the goals that you set out, now there's going to be some extra money. So in this one bank account, all the money went in to take care of all the bills. And whatever was left over used to stay in that bank account. And what I decided, I said, we're arguing over this account because she feels like she has to come ask for permission. So I said, Rhonda, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go open up another bank account with your name on it and my name on it in case something happens to you. And that is going to be your personal bank account. Tell me how much money you would like to have in that bank account every month to make you feel comfortable. And she gave me an amount of money. So what do you think I did, April?
You put the money that she was comfortable with in that account.
Every single month. And guess what? It wasn't a whole lot.
Where can I get one of these accounts?
It wasn't a whole lot.
It's what you're going to do for Kara.
That's right.
No, I want one for me.
Yeah, I don't.
Kara's going to set one up for you, Zach.
It's not available for you.
She's going to set one up for you. So the reason I did that was what I call excess. I still had all the bills paid. I had the emergency fund already built up. Then the savings started building up. And then I still was participating in my 401ks and all those other things. And we had some money left over. So she took some of that leftover money that went in her account. And I said, now, to show you how serious I am, I don't care if you burn it, flush it down the toilet, or buy 400 of the same things. I don't care because it's your money. That was the best thing that we ever did. And I didn't even think about it because I didn't think I was causing her to ask for permission. I really wasn't causing her, but just because I was still scared to death and not thinking that we had maybe got to that point, I would ask, but not in a way that I was trying to question everything she was doing. But of course, that's the way she took it.
Definitely interpreted that way.
Sure. And that's what made me come up with this idea. So once that happened, it was great. And you know what your mother did with her extra money? She spent it on family things anyway. But the thing is, she had the freedom to do that. So if you're out there and one person is working, sometimes it can be the wife. And that you've already got all you're not going to affect your goals in any way. You're not going to affect the things that it takes to pay your bills and save your money and, continue moving forward the way we've talked about and other things. Then make sure that each of you have some money that you can spend that nobody's going to question. And just don't worry about it, because there's a purpose for trying to save and try to get ahead, and that is to create some type of lifestyle, whether that lifestyle is spending $300 a month or spending $3,000 a month. But you do want to have something that you can at least say, hey, I got some freedom. So you can be free from thinking that you always got to seek permission. So that's the situation if one person's working and then the other person's not. Now, with married couples and both people are working, I suggest keeping one central bank account. And that central bank account is where everybody throws their pot in there. Mm-hmm. And their pot is divided among the budget. First of all, the things that you have to have, the things that you need, all the things that have to be paid for. And if both of your names are on that account and you pay in the house payment, the groceries, the electric bill, the car payment or payments, the insurance, the taxes, all of those payments come out of that one account. And when you do a budget to help you stay on track, you will see that you may have $2,000 a month left over even after you put in your savings. So why don't you agree that now each one of you will have another bank account, that you move money from the central bank account over to your own personal, and that way you guys can do whatever you want to and you don't even have to fuss about it. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of times people don't even think that deep. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we talked about in one of our podcasts, maybe been a couple, there's more divorces over money than anything else. And one thing our human nature reveals to us is the day you get married. Let's see what your papa said. We'll throw a papa quote in here. He says, Robert, I first met your mama. She was the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen. And when I saw her, I said, I'm going to marry that woman. And you know what? I did. And he said, I really, at that time, she was just so sweet and so beautiful. I just thought I could eat her up. And now, I wish I had. Now, something must have happened over those years.
Yeah. He told me a few bits of those stories.
Yeah. So, Mom, I'm sorry. But anyway, I'm sure he wasn't as easy to get along with either. Mm-hmm. But here's where I'm going with that. Here's where I'm going back to what I meant. If you start, in your mama's case, feeling like she's being questioned, and it happens over and over and over, then you don't want to be around that person anymore. Mm-hmm. And if you don't want to be around that person anymore, you're not. And then right before your eyes, you don't even see it, you're starting to grow apart, and you don't have the same feelings for each other, and you don't know even why.
Mm-hmm. Resentment builds when needs aren't met, or at least when someone's not feeling like those needs are being met.
Absolutely. And then it causes a lot of stress. It causes a lot of arguments. And if you cannot work through those arguments or find out what the root cause is of those arguments and do something to fix it, then you don't have to worry about combining incomes, because you will have a separate bank account. Mm-hmm. And that's just the way it's going to be.
So in that scenario, it feels like we're assuming that each person is making about the same. But I think where it could also get complicated, let's say one person is making significantly more than the other. How do we address that, deal with that?
Well, it's similar, very similar. The result's going to end up being the same as the first option. Try not to compare, because that's going to give you something else to fuss about. I have heard people fussing next door when I lived in an apartment. I've heard all kind of things that when they really got angry with each other, then everything out of the woodwork comes up. Well, I make more than you. I'm the one that contributes to most of this. So if I'm going to contribute to most of this, I need to get the most. Now, that's your wife you're talking to.
Or your husband.
Or your husband. Excuse me. Thank you, April. I'll let you talk on behalf of the woman, and I will talk on behalf of the man.
Some women can be mean too.
Amen, sister, daughter, whatever.
Your sister in Christ.
But those things, I love it when everybody gets married. They're looking at each other. Sometimes they're crying. It's a happy occasion. You know, through better, through worse, through sickness, through health. And then you want to compare who's making the most money. And then when you try to compare who's making the most money, then you argue about it. Why not look at everything as one? Because if you walk down the aisle and get married, you are supposed to look at everything as one, not divided. Sometimes where people are used to being single, they don't want to let the single stay at the door. They want to invite it into the house. And then sometimes they don't even give it any thought, and they think, well, I'm used to doing this, so the best way to do it is just you pay for this, you pay for that. But that's not the best way to do it. So it doesn't matter if somebody makes $10,000 a year, they're out there trying to contribute something. And then it doesn't matter if the other spouse makes $100,000 a year, they're out there trying to contribute something. But when you put it together, it's $110,000 or $120,000 or $130,000. So look at it as what it is collectively. Then this is why we need to at least talk about a budget, at least every other podcast. You got to, must, have to, all the above, create a budget, and don't be scared of it. It is to help you. It is to point you to areas where there could be trouble. And when you put all this money, again, like we talked about at the beginning, into this one account is for you to pay all the bills out of. And then, even though one made $30,000 and another made $100,000, whatever's left over at the budget, you still do like you would do if only one person was working. Except this time you may say, you know what? Let's split it. So the one that makes $30,000 a year, say at the end of the month, we're splitting $2,000. The one that made 30 is going to get 1,000. The one that made 100 is going to get 1,000. But you know what's going to get done in between? The bill's going to get paid. Mm-hmm. And you're not going to argue over it. So sometimes jealousy, greed, or just wanting to get back at somebody is the conversations that come up. So if you are the one making the most, don't be arrogant about it. You chose to get married. So now you should become one. And then each of you can say, hey, this is the money I have left over in my account, and it doesn't matter what I do with it. The things I've seen happen too is the one who made the most thought they could buy the biggest toys. Mm-hmm. So let's come up with toy number one that I hear about a lot. Like a boat. Yeah. You know, so guy that makes the most, or the woman that makes the most, I want a boat. Oh no, let's do this. Let's be chauvinistic a little bit. So the guy that makes the most says, I want a boat.
It's more likely to be the guy wanting the boat.
No, so let's do that. And the woman is, I want a brand new car. I want a better car. I want a good looking car. I want a sports car. And then she thinks she can go over there and buy the sports car and leave him with hardly nothing. Or he thinks he can go over here and buy the boat and leave her with hardly anything. The things that you pick out to do and the things that you want on an individual basis make them a unified basis. That she don't want a boat and you can't afford it with your 1,000, because every time, that is what boat stands for, break out another 1,000. But you could take your thousands every month, using our example back when I said, she's got 1,000, you got 1,000, and you can save up your thousands if you want to, and then you can go buy a boat. It don't matter. And she can take her thousands and she can save them up and she can go buy a car. Or she can take her thousands knowing that everything is still going to be fine because everything's going into this big old pot, and you might can go buy a boat for $500 a month. Or you might can buy a car that she wants for $700 a month. But guess what? It comes out of your thousands. So now everybody's happy. But the way to get there is not to be arrogant and think that you're so much more superior and that you want to use that to control the other person, because unfortunately there's a lot of jealousy and control freaks on the male and female side. There's some women that want to control their husbands, and sometimes they think they can control them with money if they're making the most money, and vice versa on the husbands. I knew of a situation one time with someone that I worked with that he wanted all the money to go into one pot. But the reason he wanted it to go into one pot is so he could spend it on what he wanted, because he didn't have enough to spend on the things that he wanted, not what he needed. And then she would come back and say, you can't be spending that money because now I don't have enough money to pay the electric bill. Now I thought that was weird. So I said, why are you paying the electric bill? Well, he expects me to pay all the bills out of that money, but when he takes it and does all these other things, then there's no money left to pay it. And when I go to him, he makes it sound like it's my fault. I said, well, it sounds like to me that you have unfortunately married someone who is very selfish and very controlling. Mm-hmm. Also, she had a car that broke down, and he says, well, your car needs an engine, and then we're going to get the engine for it. So he went and did that, not thinking about anything else, which, they needed anyway, and eventually he said it would need an engine. Then, whenever she wouldn't do certain things that he wanted to do, he said, well, I'm not putting that engine in your car. Mm. And the last thing that you want to do, whether you're the male or the female in a marriage, is to try to hold something over somebody's head. Because when you get to that point, there's nothing that the other one wants to do with you in any way, shape, or form that's going to save anything until you change your attitude. And that is when you're going to end up divorced. Unfortunately, most men don't understand that the alimony and child support cost a whole lot more than compromise does. And I've seen that, working through businesses. Some guy come get hired, and about 2 months later, we'll get a letter from the state. State says, can you confirm that Joe's working here? Yep, Joe's working here. So he missed it for a while. But then when they found him, now Joe might make $1,200 a week, but $400 a week's coming out his check for child support.
As it should.
As it should. And now Joe might could have had that boat. But because of that, now he's got to do what had to do anyway, is take care of his children. And he's got to give it to the person he didn't want to give it to anyway to take care of his children. So I wanted to throw that in there because the serious side of this is if you don't think ahead and be proactive, do some planning, think about these things that you start to see that's causing you to grow apart. Start looking for that. Look for the root cause. Am I really just getting tired of her? Or is she getting tired of me? Or did we do something along the way that caused each other to get tired of each other? And when you identify that, then do something to correct it. And the other thing is we talk about life lessons through these examples of merging, not merging, having separate accounts, so forth and all that. Look at the person the way you looked at them the day that you got married. When you're not looking at them anymore like that, say, what does it take to go look at them that way again? And here's the word I'm looking for. And be intentional about it. What do I mean by intentional, April? Everybody knows what intentional means. But it's identifying that there needs to be change, knowing that the things that you're doing are not good for the marriage. And once you identify those things, then be intentional about going and correcting them.
And not being defensive when things come up.
Absolutely.
So maybe what you're saying is care about your marriage more than you do your ego.
Amen. And here's what a lot of people fail on. So we're kind of talking life lessons that started out with that. So you grow apart and you say, I'm through with this. I'm going to go get a divorce. And everybody looks at each other and without even trying to fix anything and get back to where you were, they just divorce. If you have kids, they're the ones that lose. Because now we're doing the weekend thing. You got them this weekend. I got them that weekend. Who's picking them up? I'm sick. I can't go to work. You're going to be communicating with the one you don't want to communicate with a whole lot more than you were communicating with before you divorced them.
Mm-hmm.
Then all of a sudden, each one of them starts getting lonely. And they say, I need to go find somebody else. And guess what's going to happen again?
Start the same pattern.
Same pattern. Because you did not identify why you fell apart with the first person. And if you don't think about it, you're not going to identify it when you get with the second person. Normally, when you get to the second or third person, then you finally give up on the third deal. It's like, no need to do it anymore. I'll just take what I can get. And then you're stuck in a situation that you really don't want to be in, but you can't get out of it, and nobody's happy. You know, something I have a problem with, April.
What?
Why would anybody want to go through life like that?
I know. I mean, it sounds like you're saying that before somebody gets married, they should try to work these things out beforehand.
And you just nailed it. If you did not get anything else out of this podcast, and if you started listening real intent in the first one, what April just said is what I was saying. When people go into a marriage, everybody loves each other. They're head over heels. Now all of a sudden, honeymoon's over, we're in the house, bills start coming in, and there was hardly any time spent on a budget. There was no time spent on a budget. And then somebody had the great idea, well, you pay these bills and I pay them. But what kind of goals you got in your life? What kind of objective are you trying to achieve together? You're not trying to do anything together if you approach it that way, because all you want to do is just pay the bills, and you're going to pay this, you're going to pay that one, and then all of a sudden, you back to where we started from. It's just a full circle. You start arguing or falling apart or getting separated from each other. And then I'm going to say this to some men. Women, I even hate to say this, because don't go to your husband and ask him. Should I say this or not? I probably should or shouldn't.
Well, I don't know what you're going to say.
Okay, well, I'll say it anyway. So, working with different companies, everybody wants to get direct deposit. And a lot of companies force you to get direct deposit. And direct deposit is a wonderful, wonderful thing, because you can have some of your net pay going into a savings account. You can have some of your net pay going into a bank account. Now, for what we talked about earlier, you can have some of your money going into that joint account that we're going to pay bills out of, or you can have some of your money going into your account, and then vice versa with your spouse. But what I've seen before is the third account, where somebody changed jobs, the other spouse didn't know how much they were bringing home, and they always looked into the account, and the money was in the account, so everybody's happy. But Junior over here, he decided he needed an extra $100 a week. And he didn't want his wife knowing about it, so he had some money put into the third account. Come on, guys. Don't be stealing from your wife. Don't be stealing from your kids. And don't be stealing from your marriage.
Yeah, that's what it is. You're stealing from your marriage when you do stuff like that.
And you're showing the other person how much they really mean to you, because you just can't do the right thing. And a lot of people, if you were to ask them in this situation, April, you would ask them, you would tell them, you're a selfish person. I'm not a selfish person. Why am I selfish? They don't even recognize what they're doing. But I guarantee you the spouse recognizes what they're doing.
Yeah, once she finds out. Because what you're saying is, I don't trust you.
Exactly. Now, what's the marriage supposed to be based on?
Trust.
Da-da. So, we got into some life lessons. I hope that these life lessons, I hope these things we spoke about will intrigue people enough to start paying attention to some of the things they may be saying, some of the things they may be doing, and try to do things to be intentional about making the marriage better. But it all starts with the money. Make sure you have a budget. Make sure you work on it together. Understand together. It may be hard to do some things, but we're going to do them together. We're going to get through it together. We're going to build a life together. We're going to pay off this house together. And there's no competition of who brings in more than the other. So, separate bank accounts for what's left over. No questioning. Go burn it, throw it in trash, throw it in the garbage, do what you want with it, because that's your money. But one big old account to make sure that the bills are paid. And then as far as who pays those bills, it don't matter who signs the check, because it all comes out of that. So you could assign some responsibilities to, like, hey, I'll keep up with this because all this stuff, it just overwhelms me. I've heard some men say that. I'm just not good at finances. This stuff overwhelms me. This is so hard to keep up with. And the answer to that is, well, let's don't make it hard then. Put all your money in this account. Then we're going to calculate how much is left over, and I'm going to put some over here, and that's all you got to worry about. And, honey, I don't mind signing all the checks to pay the bills that come out of the main account. What you think about that, April?
I think that sounds good. And so the lesson is, if you're already married, hopefully you trust your spouse enough with the bank accounts. And if you don't, y'all get to work. And if you're not married, don't get married until you meet the person who you would trust with your money.
What else can I say, April?
Thanks for listening to the Money Dad Podcast. Head on over to our website, themoneydadpodcast.com, for more resources and to send in any questions that you might have. Do your homework, and we'll see you next time.